Today on Community Connection, love wins. Today, for the first time, I have three guests at once, or one of the first times. I have Robin Kampf, who was the director of the movie Love Wins, and the stars of the show, Jan Moore and Emily Sonnessa. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Nice to have us.
And for most people probably don't realize, Robin, who's the one sitting on the stool in the back, is normally on the other side directing the show. But you were the director of this movie. How'd it come to happen?
Well, I met Jan and Emily through Garden State Equality, which is the key advocacy group in New Jersey for gay, lesbians. Met them throughout the entire struggle for our civil rights, and marched on marriage equality,
amongst
marched
other
on
things.
Trenton together, and they made a tremendous impression on me.
And so you decided to make a movie, but their story is more interesting than your average courtship.
Yes, and they really represent, they're emblematic of the story that so many of us live through, and some of us continue to live through.
And the story is what?
It was the struggle of trying to live a quote-unquote normal life in a society that did not accept gay people.
And your story, I mean, I saw the movie. For those of you, I'm imagining, I would bet most of our audience has not. But tell me what the movie is.
Well, it's a love story, and whenever I'm asked that question, that's what I say. It's a love story, because how many people do you know that have been together 47 years and still continue to be together and love one another, respect one another, and they just truly are each other's soulmates?
Now, how long have the two of you been married?
Well, legally, we're only married, we'll be married 3 years, November 20th, legally.
So that's your third anniversary is coming up. I normally don't talk about when we're doing the show, but we're doing this November. We're doing this the day before the election, so it's November 7th.
So it'll be coming up. It'll be our 47th.
Is that what you can, when somebody asks you that though, do you say, well, we have more than one anniversary?
No.
Yes, we do. We do have one.
She says yes,
We
you
got
say
what
no.
you call wedding.
It's the story of their life.
That's it. Don't forget.
Welcome to the world of married people.
I'm almost at 30. I'm at 30 years now. So
We had a
I kinda
civil
know the
ceremony.
thing.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, that's what we had first, was a civil ceremony.
Civil
When?
union. We had
Civil union.
domestic partnership,
In civil union. In
and then the civil
2007.
union, and then marriage. But I always count from the time we've been together. And we've been together, and we always measure, in case in our old age we forget, the youngest was 5 years old.
The youngest, what was 5?
Son.
Your
was
son.
My
Now,
youngest son.
You were previously married.
I was previously married, and I had 3 children when Emily moved in.
And when was, so that was 47 years ago.
Right.
And how'd the two of you meet?
I worked at the same company her husband did. Excuse me. And we met at work, and we became friendly through company functions. She came to them, of course. I went to them. Her husband was a chemist. I'm sorry.
He was part of.
That's not joking.
He was research, assistant research director, and Emily was in research, chemical research for fabrics and things like that.
Textiles.
Yes.
Textiles.
Are you a college graduate?
No.
How did you get into that line of work? Not that it's, in the context
Yeah.
of the story, it's not really that,
No,
that
it's just
important.
the school I went to was Central Needle Trades. It was called that at the time I went, and it became the, oh boy, okay, my mind, that's why I don't get rid of her. because she remembers everything.
Where did she grow up?
Emily,
East Harlem. I was born in New York, East Harlem.
she was born in Bellevue Hospital, the only two of the children, of the 8 children that were born in a hospital, and she lived in East Harlem.
Specifically where, just out of interest? What was it?
122nd Street on the east side in the Harlem neighborhood
Okay.
section. Okay.
And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Bergen County. I was born in Jersey City, and I grew up in a small town, Woodridge.
So you're a Jersey girl.
I'm a Jersey girl.
And when you met, you were living where? The two of you, were you both in
Well,
New
my
Jersey?
company was originally in New York, and then they moved to New Jersey.
And how accepting would anybody have been in that day and age? How hidden were you?
Very hidden. Nobody outside of my family, no, not even my family, nobody knew I was gay. The next day I went out with guys to begin with, and then I went out with mixed crowd, but not gay. Nobody even, I don't even think I had somebody in school that was gay. Of all my school, I didn't know anybody else that felt like I did.
How old were you when you said, this is who I am and this is what I am?
I would say 10, 11 started. 12, that I wasn't like other people, other women, I should say.
Was there anything that made you think that I mean, we're talking a while ago now. Was there ever a point in your mind, in your life, when you were young, where you thought, there's going to come a point in time where I'm going to meet someone, I'm going to be with someone, and even
Yes.
marriage?
Yes.
When did you start to think that
Well,
that
not
was
about
possible?
marriage. I never thought marriage would ever be while I was still alive. I just turned 87, and I can't believe that it happened. So I thought I was going to leave this earth before I could get married to a woman.
When did it start to occur to you? Now, you were previously married, and
Never occurred to me. Never, ever occurred to me. Emily and I had a friendship. We laughed a lot. We bowled together. There was a camaraderie. She was going with someone, a guy, in fact, at the time. My husband and I and Emily and Walter and another couple, we used to play cards together. They had a wonderful time. The friendship, unbeknownst to Emily, and unbeknownst to me, really, I was falling in love with her, and I thought I had lost my mind. Because to me, growing up, if you ever heard of homosexuality, it was always referred to as a mental illness.
mm-hmm.
And here I am in this wonderful world of professional life, 3 great kids, everything I thought I wanted. And here I am falling in love with this crazy lady.
Thanks.
She was and is.
How did your family come to grips with it? They knew her already, right? Your
Which,
kids?
her family of origin or her kids?
Her kid. Well, let's start with your kids. I mean, you had
The
your,
children, we never, ever talked about it.
We were never open in front of the children even, just at home.
Only thing we had was our bedroom. But because we had 3 kids, Emily used to say, the big sacrifice was, I'll have to sleep with your mother, so you each have your own room.
They all wanted their own room, and that wasn't possible unless I slept with their mother. I mean, I'm a good sport. So I had.
well, when I watched the movie, one of the things, and it was either in the movie, and Robin can correct me if I'm wrong, she likes to do that anyway. It was either in the movie or when you were talking afterwards. The 2 of you bought a house together.
Yes.
And that was kind of a big deal because
Oh, absolutely.
the things that a married couple would take for granted, joint tax returns, pay stubs, credit together, you never could have.
No.
No, we couldn't.
Matter of fact, yes,
we
about
were
Georgie,
able to put
yeah.
the house in both our names. That we were legally allowed to do with joint tenants in common. So she would always get that. But as
The right of survivorship.
right,
Yeah.
as the laws progressed, each law that progressed, it was like I was on top of it. Now we can have a bank account like that. Now we can do this.
Well,
Credit card.
As of 3 years ago.
Well, no,
I mean,
we've
until we had
always
marriage
had.
equality.
Emily and I, even when I had my insurance policy made out, I went through a lot of rigmarole, but it was made out to Emily because she also was going to be guardian of the children.
So did you both have wills that set
Yes.
out what you
Oh,
wanted?
Yeah.
But you were constantly changing them because the law was always changing. And every time I knew a loophole, like to protect some of our money, my business, I put in M's name. So we were legal partners in business. So nobody could ever walk in the house and say, oh, well, this is mine or the silver's this.
But you hear stories where a couple that's been together for many years, I just read one last week, not married, together for a long time, house is in one name. That's the person who dies first. The other person doesn't even have a home. And it still happens.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I know. We know friends that happened to.
That didn't need to happen.
No,
We
but-
really
yeah.
loved
Right.
each other, and we knew our mortgage was in both our names. We had a lawyer that we made it very clear the mortgage must be in both our names. The house must be in both of our names. Everything with right to survivorship. And that's what I mean. As the laws were changed, and when they didn't change, I had to always look for a loophole.
An alternate, way. Like if Jan always worried about kids growing up and getting angry, and if something happened to her, they would take everything from me, as you're saying. It would
Yeah,
take me to
I mean-
court for some reason.
Was your ex-husband understanding?
We never talked about it because
It was never discussed.
was never ever discussed. We never discussed anything. We never discussed it with the children. The short end of the deal was really for the kids. I look back and I say, were we right? Were we wrong? I agonized over that for many years, and the children weren't raised in a house where love could be shown and expressed, and that's a bad thing. They knew it, they feel they had a home, they knew they were loved by both of us, but they didn't see the love being expressed between us.
Between us, yes.
And now they see it. Now they see it constantly. And you say, hey, did we shortchange them? It's always a second guess.
You ever ask him?
I don't think
I
we
don't
asked them
know.
specifically that question or in that light. I don't believe so.
Her
But
nieces,
that's,
Em
yeah.
has 5 generations in her family, so that we'll go with the 40-year-old nieces,
Okay.
Kate and Chris, and well, we always knew, and they always felt loved by us. They never.
They never asked us. None of
But
my
it was never,
family
it
ever
was never
asked.
discussed.
Yeah. just
Even
as
with
much as yes.
their closest family members.
What was the business that you had? And did both of you work in it?
The business?
Yeah.
you say?
Yeah.
No, I worked at the
continued to-
same place at this laboratory. But after I lost my job, because they moved down south, the textile field started moving down south at that time. After that, I got more involved in doing shows and doing more with antiques and stuff. So that's what we both did for a living.
And so it was a small private, you owned your own business.
Yes,
You
yeah.
controlled your own jobs.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break and then we'll come back
Okay,
for the second half
that's
of the show.
great.
Okay, thank you.
Your seat cushion can be used to grant wishes.
Who said that? Hello?
Really can, you know.
You talking to me?
Sure am. Because the airline miles you earn and donate to Make-A-Wish can help send thousands of kids on their wish trips. So donate to Make-A-Wish today.
You really should, you know. You really should.
And give wishes wings, because wishes work wonders.
We're back with the second half of the show about the movie Love Wins and the stars of the movie. And the movie's about how difficult it must have been. I mean, that was my reaction when I saw it. For people, gay people, up until very recently, to have to conceal who they are. And all of you, we've been talking, you've been sharing your experiences. It wasn't easy. You went through some. You obviously heard the first half of the show. You went through some of the similar things growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah, and that really was my inspiration for wanting to tell their story, because I just thought that their story represents so many of our stories and what we went through and where we didn't live our authentic lives. There was many years of that where we pretended to try and fit into society.
How old were you before you were publicly out?
I'm going to say it was late 90s, about 1998.
Well into your 40s.
Yes.
What was it like before?
Well, let me just clarify, because to my family I was.
But how old were you when you told your brother, for example?
Early 20s.
And he was very accepting.
Very. In fact, he was upset with me because I hadn't told him.
Did he have a clue?
He had found out from someone and came over to my house one night and said, "I am so upset with you." And I said, "What?" And I thought he was going to be mad because I was gay, and he was mad because I didn't share with him.
You have only the one sibling.
My brother and my sister.
Okay. But going through and navigating your professional life was not easy.
No, no, not at all. Not until about, like I said, the mid to late 90s.
What changed? Was it you or was it society? A little bit of both.
It was me, and then came society. Then society kind of caught up with all of us. I was tired of living a lie that I was living.
Did you feel it was a lie, or did you just feel a little bit deceptive, or you weren't telling people you were straight?
It was the adage of what you don't know. I mean, they could assume, but I didn't come right out and say anything. If you were to ask me at the time, I would have told you. But other than that, I would just go along with playing the game.
How deceptive would you get?
To the point where at some company functions, when I worked in corporate America, I would bring male dates with me to events and leave my now wife at home.
How emotional was it for you when the movement, the marriage equality movement, really started to take hold?
Well, very emotional. And I need to say that my wife, my now wife, is one of the prime movers and shakers that got us to where we are today. And through her, I met Jan and Em through Garden State Equality. My wife is the vice chair of, I hope I got that right, of Garden State Equality.
Now, the two of you had a marriage ceremony in Ocean Grove, but even, do I remember correctly, even that took a bit of a legal fight?
We had
Civil union.
we had a
The civil union was in
in
Ocean Grove?
union.
in
2007.
Ocean Grove, and friends of ours had applied to have their wedding under a pavilion on the boardwalk there, and they were
That was the
refused.
civil union.
It was a civil union, and they were refused, and they were so angry talking about it one day, and they said, "If only somebody would support us." And I said, "What do you have to do?" And they said, "You have to go up and apply and see if they'll turn you down." And we went and applied to get a civil union and pavilion. They said, "No, you can't. We own the property of the boardwalk, the pavilion, and it's against our religion."
It is a Methodist town that owns that.
So what'd you do?
Okay.
So what we did was we went to Bradley Beach. They said yes.
No,
And-
we first went to the office and said, we
Oh,
want to
yeah.
get married. How much is it to use the boardwalk? To give them a check. Then they said, "I'm sorry, but we don't allow move this
Civil unions,
civil
we don't
unions,
recognize them.
on the boardwalk."
Okay.
Now, the first couple that went has sent a check in for a reservation. And of course, at that time, there wasn't any problem. They were the first ones to do that. They got their check back and said, "Sorry, we do not." They had a check to prove they were discriminated against in a
Okay.
sense. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead.
You're
I
right.
don't know if the
You're
people
right.
know that.
Can I just jump in here for just one second to put it into a
Yeah,
historical
that's what
perspective? 2007 was when New Jersey got civil unions. So
Okay.
we were able to have a civil union. Couldn't call it marriage. And then it wasn't until 2013
That we
when
got-
marriage equality became the law of the land.
So you had a civil union first. Have you since had a marriage ceremony also?
Yes, we've had
Yes.
both.
Okay.
The civil union we had, that was the most amazing thing to me.
Right, yeah.
They didn't even want us to use the boardwalk, and we did. That was it. We did.
A little civil disobedience?
No, it wasn't, because the mayor of the town married us, and when the mayor of the town is your friend, had performed the civil union, when he's your friend, and he
Mayors
was-
have great power.
Yeah, now you
Yeah.
have a new friend. That's
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, we were the first to do that, and Garden
You didn't
State-
have to go to court to get
The
an
civil
order.
union altogether.
No, to use the boardwalk.
No, we
No?
didn't. Our friends did.
We thought
there
The
may
be some
ACLU
trouble
did,
with
and
that.
And that
they,
established the right
Yeah.
to do
Because
it.
the boardwalk in Ocean Grove is public. The pavilion, and correct me if
Pavilion.
I'm wrong, the pavilion in Ocean Grove was owned by the Methodists.
Okay.
They-
That's why they refused them access to the pavilion.
Because they said they used the pavilion for religious purposes.
And at the time, they didn't.
And that was not true.
And there was also, they
There were
could
other
not pull it
weddings.
with the boardwalk because they took money from the federal government,
Right.
Right, okay.
and so
Now,
therefore.
one of the reasons I found it interesting, in part because I'm a lawyer, but all the things that we assume and we get for being married. If I have health insurance, my wife is covered. If we buy a house together and something happens to me, it's hers. If I have a lot of money when I die, whether I have a will or not, she's first in line. So those rights, which are marriage rights, and there's more, did not exist.
None.
And that's a fair, and
Absolutely.
And
Go.
also, let me just, can I tell the
Interject.
story?
Tell the story.
Jan had some health issues, and you had a heart attack. And went to the hospital, and they wouldn't let Emily in to see her. And they were together at that point 30 some odd years,
Well, I
'Cause-
wasn't related.
because she wasn't related.
do you have living wills?
At that time, I don't know if we had them, Jan.
What?
Living
Living
When
wills.
you died.
A healthcare
on
proxy.
the table, Jan.
No, we couldn't have them.
We didn't
At
have
that time, we couldn't
You weren't
have
allowed.
them.
Okay.
At that time, unless you were related, it was almost impossible to put her name or my name on anything. And then they gave you a hard time. The only reason I got her name on the insurance policy was that she was legal to take care of the children in the event anything happened to me. So that legality was the thing that I could put her down as a beneficiary. It's crazy. And you say emotional. Emily and I were together a long time, and Robin was at our actual wedding in 2013.
Who performed that one?
And,
A friend of theirs.
Okay.
Who performed your?
oh, my cousin.
Oh, yeah.
My
yeah.
cousin did. And Emily and I went to say our vows to one another. And the emotion, the kids always tease me, Mom, this is the same lady you've been sleeping with all these years. Why are you so emotional? And I went to say something to her that was from a song that we both like. And she went to say something from the Velveteen Rabbit to me, and neither one of us could get
Finished.
the words
It couldn't
out.
finish, they were
We
just
just held
forms.
each other and cried, and I think the both of us felt like, what are we, crazy? But we finally, I can't even talk about it today without getting emotional.
Yes, I know.
I see our movie, and she gets annoyed at me because I always put my head on her shoulder, and I still cry and say, can you believe that's us? That's the kind of emotion that builds up for 40 some odd years, and you finally are saying, it's amazing. And when Robin said she wanted to do Love Wins, it was like this. And after I see it, and I've seen it several times now, I say, holy crow, what a story. And Robin did this magnificent job of
great
taking
movie.
40, you know, you take
45 years at that
45
time.
years together. Robin condensed it into 26 minutes and made
I thought it was
this
a little bit longer than that,
remarkable
but I guess
movie. And I can't tell you, I'm so impressed with her. I'm more impressed that we got married, though.
Oh, excuse me.
So what's the story with the movie now? The title is Love Wins. It had
Right.
its world premiere this June, and there was a red carpet out front.
Yes, at the House of Independence in Asbury. We had over 300 people. It was
I was
sold
one of them.
out. Her son couldn't even get extra tickets. It was so funny. And then we had another screening at the Asbury on the rooftop where they show films. They project films on
Baronet.
on the roof at the Baronet Theater. That had close to 300. And now the next screening will be Valentine's weekend in Lambertville, which is right across the river from New Hope. And we're all going down there. And it's
You
a road
won
show.
an award.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, oh,
I
yeah.
forgot about
yeah,
The indie, go
Yeah,
ahead,
it won
Go
Robin.
Best
ahead.
Documentary at the Indie Street Film Festival in Red Bank this past summer. And it's been submitted to several film festivals.
Who's going to play the two of them when you go mainstream Hollywood?
I-
Meryl Streep and who else?
I have it all mapped out
You
in my
do?
head, I'm afraid to say.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I asked her what was going to come from it, and you still want it, you're trying to get a distribution deal.
Yes, would love to get it on HBO or even Netflix. A lot of the platforms on the web are terrific platforms for us filmmakers. But I'm thinking Kathy Bates for the narrative, for the dramatic narrative, Kathy Bates and Olympia Dukakis.
That's who I thought.
Yeah.
You forget it. Everybody said,
Right?
"You
Meryl
look
Streep
just
can't get
like
apart.
her."
Maybe
don't
she'll
know.
play the filmmaker.
I have to write it. I have to write it first, but that's next.
Yeah.
I think I suggested that to you
Yeah.
once.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Yes.
Well, I really appreciate the three of you coming on.
Thank you.
I can tell you, I called Robin after I saw it. It made me think of a close friend from college who I hadn't thought about in years, and I was happy when I Googled him. He's still alive.
That's
Because I
right.
worried about, well, he gone off to San Francisco.
Yes. Yeah.
And I never thought about him being gay or anything, but how difficult it must have been.
Yes.
That
it was.
phone call when you called me the day after the screening, that was very, very touching.
Well,
You
the
know,
movie was profound.
Thank you.
Yes.
It really was. It really made you think about things that, from a point of view of someone my age, I'm 62, as a kid, you made fun of people, and it was a horrible thing to have done, and they couldn't live their lives, and that movie made me think about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
What happened, and this is, Robin, you did such a good job. A grandmother came up to Emily after the movie, I guess at Independence, and said, I have a 13-year-old granddaughter that just came out to me. And this woman was crying, and she said, now she knows it's going to be okay.
And that's how we're going to end the
Wow.
show.
Oh, it was great.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.